Well, hello all. I'm very happy to be here. Like Menara said, my name is Ben Loiz. I practice design in Los Angeles, where I live with my wife and our son. It's great to be here to be with you all to talk about this topic. The first in which seems like a very exciting group of talks on the series on the topic of design. The title of this talk is, "What does design mean to you?" That might give you the impression that design, the definition of design is up for grabs, or that whatever a person feels design is, that's what it is. But actually, that's not what the title means. A lot of people think different things about design. They may have a view that design is the bow at the end of a gift, the bow that you put at the end of wrapping a gift. That's design. Someone else might have another idea of what design is, but we'll see if we want design to really help our business to progress forward in all of the different aspects of our business and the work that we're doing. We actually have to know what design is. So in a sense, design, the definition of design is not up for grabs. Design has a particular function, and I hope that in this talk we would come to understand what design is and how design can benefit a lot of the different aspects of things that are going on here at TMC Group. Now, I'm going to begin with a series of questions, okay? And I'm going to actually ask for some responses from you. So part of this will be some back and forth, okay? The first part, I'm going to ask a few questions, and I hope that by the end of the first half, we will have a general idea of what design is, at least an idea that's starting to form. In the second half, I'm going to show you some case studies, some examples of projects where design really helped businesses in different ways, okay? So the first question I'm going to ask may not seem related to design. That is, what makes a business successful? Again, I'm going to ask this question to you. It's not a trick question, because there are a lot of things that make a business successful. But my question to you is, what is the first thing that comes to your mind when you see this question? What makes a business successful? So anyone, just a short response. What comes to your mind? What makes a business
sufficiently meets the needs of its customers?
Great.
Providing a good or service that is valuable to customers and makes a profit to the business.
Good.
The people.
The people. Anyone else?
Money.
Money. Yeah. Yeah. Anyone else have an idea? Thought?
Solves a problem.
Solves a problem. Okay, good. Good. All of that is right. The people, right? Providing a service that's beneficial. Solving problems. All of this is right. Someone might say good management. Yes, all of this is needed for a successful business. But one thing that may not come to mind when you think of what would make a business successful is design. But I'd like to show you this quote by Thomas Watson, who was CEO of IBM from 1914 to the late 50s, who said, "Good design is good business." When he said this at a school he was teaching, some thought, that's funny. How does that make any sense? Design is just the wallpaper you put on the wall after you build a house. That may have been the idea of what design was, but certainly that's not what he was talking about. But he made this statement. And it has been a statement, interestingly, that designers have clung to because they feel it gives them some weight, right? Let's hang on to this statement from the 1950s. But he made this statement. Of course, this was someone who was very successful. We all know IBM and what they've contributed to technology and to business. But is this statement still true? it was given in the 1950s. Is the statement still true today? Well, more recently, in the last few years, a study was done called Good Design is Good for Business. And this study looked at 500 of the large publicly traded companies and compared them over a 10-year study. And this study showed that the companies who are design-driven, who put design first, outperformed all of these companies by 228%, as you can see here. Some of these companies are well-known companies. Apple, IBM, of course, is there. Starbucks, Target. Many of these companies who put design first. Okay? So what does this mean? I think it's clear that design is effective and design is important in helping a business to be successful. I italicized and made bold the last statement. All that money that these companies put into smoother user experiences, beautiful branding, and innovative advertising apparently paid off. User experiences are the experiences that people have when they come in contact with your business. It could be anything from when they walk into your building, is it easy for them to get around? When they come into the front door, are they greeted by someone? Can they find what they're looking for? Or it could be when they're on your website, is it easy to navigate? Can they find useful information that helps solve their problem? This is a user experience. It's all of the experiences that a user has in connection with your company. And so one might not think this is design, but this is an aspect of design. Beautiful branding is really the expression of a company, the expression of who that company is. And branding includes the logo. It includes a visual identity, which are the colors used, the fonts used, the patterns used, the layouts used, the design used in various medium, whether on web, on print. This is what expresses the thought of the company to a person, so that a person would trust the company and want to invest in that company. And advertising is kind of the connection between the two. It's the link. It's how the person is connected to the company to find what they're looking for to be helped. So these companies have many different kinds of products, many different kinds of services, but they realize the importance of design and how design can really help their business to expand, help their businesses to grow. So it turns out that statement that designers held onto so tightly since the 1950s is actually rings true today. So in seeing this, the next question is this. We know that design is important to a business. We know that it helps a business to be successful, along with many other things. But what is design? This is my next question I'm going to ask you. And actually, I've asked rooms full of adults. I've asked rooms full of high schoolers. Sometimes I've talked to high schoolers about design. And so I've heard many different answers. And so I just want to ask this question to the room. What is design? What comes to your mind? When you've heard this in the past, what is it?
The forethought and planning that goes into something.
Okay, good.
A simple solution to a complex problem.
That's a good answer.
The blueprint of anything.
Okay, yeah. Anyone else?
The aesthetics of something, how something looks.
Uh-huh. Okay, good. All of these certainly have to do with design. Again, the answer that I give, that I show on my website at least, I'll show it to you on the next slide. It's a simple statement, but there's a lot of meaning behind it. Design communicates and delights. What is behind this word communicates? Design communicates the solution to a problem. That's one way design communicates. Design communicates the heart and soul of a company to the people it's trying to reach. Design communicates in many different ways. So there's the problem-solving aspect. There is the expression aspect, expressing thoughts and ideas that a company has to a person or to the ones that you're trying to reach. But there is a unique balance. There's a lot of products in the market that work. They function. But people don't use them because they're not enjoyable to use. Sometimes people even compare phones. My phone does so much more than yours. And the other person says, I don't care. I like using this one better. It just feels better. It's more comfortable to use. Well, design is the balance of form and function. It's the balance, and that's why we have the word delight here. Design communicates, but in a way that delights, in a way that is enjoyable, in a way that feels comfortable, in a way that really helps. So design has this balance. There's problem solving, there's function, there is communication, but it's done in a way that people want to engage with, okay? So at TMC Group, there are a number of sub-companies. Each one has a different product, each one has a different focus. Each one's, what each subgroup or sub-company is presenting needs to work, it needs to help people. But even to consider that it needs to help people in a way that they enjoy, that they want to engage with, that they want to come back to. Both of these sides are designed. So I want to stop for a minute and show you a few examples of comments that people have made throughout history related to design, the definition of design. Now, some of you may be familiar with this. Lisa let me know that she visited this home. This home is called Falling Waters. It is designed by one of the most famous architects in our history, certainly one of the most famous American architects, and that's Frank Lloyd Wright. Now, when Frank Lloyd Wright was coming up and learning his craft, he was taught that form follows function. Some of you may have heard this phrase before, form follows function. That means function is the leading of the two. Function is more important than the two, and form just follows. Form may be lesser of importance. But as he began to develop as an architect, as he began to really grow, become well known, and become very detailed in his skill and his craft, he began to think a little bit differently than that. And especially because of homes like this, which he called organic architecture, which is when nature and architecture just merged. So where does nature end, architecture start? It was this whole blur. That's what he wanted to get to. And he began to have this new thought that form and function are one. Actually, good architecture is when form and function come together. So it's not just function that's leading. It's not just function that's highlighted. But when these two come together, you have great architecture. This was his thought as he became more advanced in his career. You may be familiar with every single one of these logos on the page, or at least most of them. They're all iconic. They're all really a part of the fabric of our culture. They were all designed by one person, one of the great American graphic designers and one who was a professor at Yale University, Paul Rand. And he had a similar thought to Frank Lloyd Wright, and that is that design is the synthesis of form and content. So again, there's something that needs to be communicated. There's something that needs to work. But if content is the main highlighted item, then interest lags. People don't want to use it. Of course, if form is the highlighted major item focused on, then it could be empty. It could just be empty. It's just, then it becomes wallpaper, right? But design is the synthesis of form and content. John Maeda is a very interesting personality. He began as an engineer. He began as an engineer, then later became a designer, and then later he led research at MIT, and then after that he became the president of RISD, the Rhode Island School of Design, and now he works in venture capital. So he has a lot of background, he has a lot of experience. His definition is design is a solution to a problem. So the problem may be with a product. How does this product work? Or the problem may be, you know, we as a company are trying to connect with this demographic, but we can't get them. How can we reach this demographic? There are many problems that a company might have, and design is the solution to the problem. So many companies might say there's a particular problem we have, and maybe the CEOs might get with an engineer and work out the problem, or get a marketing team involved, and then when they're finished, they might say, designers, wrap it up and make it look nice. But you see, that's missing the point. Design is the part of the process of solving the problem. So design is a major part of problem solving in business. You may be familiar with this, especially if you're from the East Coast. It is a New York City subway map. Sometimes things like this seem like they weren't designed. They seem like they just were always there. But this was designed by a graphic designer named Massimo Vignelli, who, with his wife Leila, moved from Italy to New York City to practice design and really bring their aesthetic, their very clean European style of design, to the United States. And when they arrived, they got this great job to redesign the New York City subways. At the time, all of the signage in the subway systems were different. They had different hand painters using different fonts and different colors, putting the signs in different places. And so it was very difficult to get around in the subway system in New York City. And so Massimo developed a whole system, a wayfinding system, to help people to get through the subway systems in New York City, using color, using typography, using placement, using signage, using sizes. And through testing, they first kind of redesigned about 3 or 4 subway stations, and they tested how are people getting through them. Are they able to get through them easier? And through the results, they refined their designs and not only designed the map, but redesigned the wayfinding system in the New York City subway stations. And Massimo had this statement to say, good design is all about responsibility. And that means that design is for people. Design is for people to use, for people to interact with. So design should help. And a designer should feel like there's a sense of responsibility to help people. Whether that is help people getting from one place to another, or help people to find a service that they want to find. It's not merely just aesthetics, but it's something that's used to help people and help businesses. So I hope we can see, at least so far from these examples, these definitions, that design communicates, meaning it communicates the thought that a company has in visual form to its customer. It also communicates the solution to problems that are found in businesses, but it does it in a way that delights, that people want to interact with, that people want to use again. And design helps. The result of design should be that it helps people. So with this in view, how does this relate to TMC Group? Well, again, TMC Group is well, there are a number of different services, a number of different companies under the umbrella of TMC Group. And each one is promoting something. Each one has a particular product or a particular service. And each one needs to communicate that service to the public, even in a way that is consistent, that has a high standard, that matches the standard of the vision of the business, so that people would connect. People would make that connection, put that trust in any of the subgroups of TMC Group. And one of the first things, although there are many different aspects of design, like both Monaro said at the beginning and we've seen in this presentation so far, the one that I'll focus on more squarely in this talk is branding and identity. Some of the first touch points a person sees when they come in contact with a company is maybe the website, or it is maybe a flyer, or it could be any number of things. It could be when they come into the office, any number of things. These elements are very important to consider because this is what someone comes in contact with first. And as they begin to have experiences with the company, they tie all their experiences back to the visual identity. I'll give you an example. When children are driving down the street with their parents and they see a little yellow arch hanging up over trees, they get excited because they know McDonald's is coming. That little part of the logo brings up in them memories of the playground, of the shakes. Sometimes they do stuff weird like put a fry into their shake and eat it. They remember all these things, right? That's branding. If that arc was green, they wouldn't have that same response. But because it's gold, they get excited. They get excited. One time when I was a young boy, my brothers and I and my parents were taking a trip, family trip, and we went to Denny's. And you know, we had gone to Denny's before, but this time my brother ate something and he got sick, really sick to his stomach. And I didn't realize this until later, but none of us ate at a Denny's until we were adults after that time. And every time we drove down the street, you'd see a Denny's, and we'd be like, ew, gross. You know, everyone's grossed out, right? Because we saw the logo, but it reminded us of the experience we had. That is what identity and branding does. People have experiences with you. When you answer the phone and talk to them, that feeling they have, that conversation is an experience. When they use your product, they have a particular feeling and experience, and they tie it back to all the things that they see, the colors, the fonts, the logo, the identity. That's just stirred up in our memory when we consider those things. So visual identities are very important. Percolate is a marketing company that did another bit of research in the area of branding and identity. I'll just read a few points here. While the best brands are complex, multidimensional, and designed for longevity, a brand's visual identity, its logos, colors, fonts, style guides, can be analyzed and understood by the human brain in less than half of a second. So this is the McDonald's arc, right? In less than half of a second, and a lot of feeling and experiences come back. You may not think of those experiences individually, but you just have some feeling based on what you've experienced. And so this shows it is very important to realize how our brain processes images, how our brain processes design, color, and things like this, our fonts, style guides, and to keep them up to par, to keep them consistent, to keep them at an excellent level, so that not only does the expression of the company visually represent the level of excellence that the company has, but that people begin to put their trust in that company. If you had a friend who maybe talked a certain way, acted a certain way, dressed a certain way, and you knew that, you knew how they were, But then one day you saw them and they were dressed differently, talking differently, acting differently. You'd begin to wonder, do I really know that person? And this is the same feeling and experience people have with brands. They want to put their trust in that brand, realizing that I know who this is. I can stand with them or stand behind them. They kind of represent who I am. And that's why some people will wear a Nike shirt even though they don't work for Nike. They'll have a Nike logo on their shirt, and they won't wear a Reebok one because they feel like Nike represents who they are. Reebok doesn't. Neither of them work for the company or are being paid to promote that company, but they promote it because they feel like that company represents who they are. And so this is part of what identity and branding does. It gives a consistent expression so that people can put their trust in a company and really invest in that company. Okay, so for the rest of the presentation, I'm going to show 3 case studies showing different ways design has helped different kinds of companies. The first one is called Little Fish, Big Pond, Nang La Vietnamese Cafe. Now this is a Vietnamese cafe in the Los Angeles area. And the title Little Fish represents a little family who grew up together, and the daughter, the mother's in the middle, the daughter and son are on the left and right. The children were in different fields of business. The daughter was in marketing. The son was he was a numbers person. And they realized at some point in their lives that they were in the wrong business. And what they wanted to do was serve people. They wanted to serve people the food that they loved, that their mother cooked them growing up. Okay? So they're successful, going on in their careers, but they have this dream. We want to serve people with mom's food. It's the best food. And so they had this idea. They came together, put their 2 talents together, asked their mother if she was willing to come in with them and be a part of this dream, and they began to move forward with this business. Now, they're little fish in a big pond because they're a little family in Los Angeles, a difficult place to open a restaurant. There are restaurants by where I live, and every year you see a different sign up in the front of it because it's difficult. It's difficult to open a restaurant and to thrive in Los Angeles, but they had this dream. And so we met together. This is where we had our first meeting. It was what would be their first restaurant. This place would really begin to fulfill their dream. The owners walked me through and they told me about what they wanted to do with their future, how their mom's food was so good. There are a number of Vietnamese restaurants in LA that have been there for a long time, but they wanted to be different. They wanted great ingredients, top quality ingredients. And they wanted the atmosphere to be very modern, very design driven. It would be a different kind of Vietnamese restaurant than people are used to in the Los Angeles area. So after a lot of conversation, back and forth, trying to pull out and learn what they were all about, I began to work on their logo. And this is their logo. I actually presented them one logo, and they chose it because we had a lot of conversation together, and I got to know kind of their heart and their soul concerning their dream. The inspiration from the logo was, I don't know if you're familiar with the floating markets in Vietnam. There are these boats that fill they fill boats with produce, and they float along the water, and you can buy your groceries that way. Well, I wanted the logo to have some movement. So if you can see in the O, in the G, and the A, there's some swishes, some movement. Colors represent the spices and the flavors of Vietnam. they chose the logo, and we began to work on their visual identity, a lot of their other pieces that they were going to use. This is the sign being built, the back of the sign in the sign shop. We went to take a look at it. It's very exciting. It's coming together. Soon there will be a sign. That means it's real. It's going to happen. And here it is. This is the front of the restaurant with their signage that's been installed, and it's very unique in context of the other Vietnamese restaurants and in the area that it was in. Very modern, very clean. We began to apply this identity in many other ways. Here you can see the logo engraved in the back of the chairs. The boat patterns, we designed a custom bar area for those who would be eating here at the bar. When you enter into the restaurant, you would see this. You would see the same patterns that are used in the logo, that are used in the business cards, and other items that we produced. Here you have menus, everything designed consistently with consistent fonts and colors, using the highest quality design, highest quality papers, so that when people came to Nang La, they would have a particular kind of experience. Here are their delicious homemade passion fruit iced tea and lemonade. They have really excellent food. If you ever get a chance and you're in LA, you should visit them.
It's really crowded. It's really crowded.
It is. These are gift cards if you want to buy a gift card for someone else to have a free meal. Again, all of these things are consistent. Most people probably don't know that is a pattern of boats, but it's just a pattern that stays in your mind, and it really reflects and expresses the feeling that the owners had inside, that they wanted to represent their business visually. It wasn't long before they started getting a lot of press. Here, LA Weekly called them one of the 10 best pho restaurants in Los Angeles. And here, Chow Hound, a pretty large food reviewing website, calls them one of the top 10 new restaurants for 2012. You can imagine, this was just a small little family in a big city up against many competitors. And obviously, this is not all due to design. They needed great food, great customer service, a great product. But how was that going to be expressed to people? What were they going to remember of their experience? This is how design helped Nang La, a little fish in a big pond, really level up to their competitors who had been there much longer than they were. And a lot of the Yelp reviews, as they started pouring in, not only talked about the delicious food, but they would talk about the atmosphere. It's modern, it's clean, it's very different than other places. This set them apart, made them a Vietnamese restaurant that was memorable among their competitors. And they did so well, they opened their second restaurant. This is on La Brea, which is a very high traffic street in Los Angeles. And they've continued to go on from there. This is a picture of the beautiful backlit signage there on La Brea. There's no other sign like this on the whole block that they're on. So the whole block was kind of a dark signs that had no light. And so we decided to really help them to stand out and do some backlit signage. So when you drive down the street, you kind of see this glowing logo. So this shows how design was used to help a company that was starting, that was small, that had competitors that had been there for a long time, stand out in a way that was distinct, memorable, that really reflected the quality of their food and ingredients, and helped them to really propel their company forward and have a business that really expresses their dream, the dream that they had. Okay, this case study is called A Unique Voice, and it is related to a nonprofit organization called Bibles for America. Now, Bibles for America is a nonprofit organization who gives out free Bibles and books across America. and it had been around for some time. It was doing well, well known. It was increasing each year, and at some point, I began to work with Bibles for America in the area of branding and identity. Actually, this organization had a concept of good design, and there were a lot of pieces that were produced that were high quality design. So that idea was already there. There was one problem, and that was inconsistency. So these are a number of items that were produced. Each one of them on their own may be very high quality design. But with branding and identity, it's less about each individual piece being high quality, and it's more about the piece before and the piece after, consistency throughout all of the different aspects of the company, all of the different departments of the company. Everything that would be produced, from websites to videos to product packaging to promotion, everything would have one consistent voice. And so this was a problem to solve, so that this company, who was becoming more well-known and producing great products, could have a consistent voice, and that's why the title was A Unique Voice. So what happened was we began work on a brand identity style guide. And what this is a document that really gives a guide to every department, so that every department is kind of familiar with the colors, with the fonts, with the way we design, with the quality of design, whether you're producing a video, a website, whatever department is producing something, even a PowerPoint or a PDF, you would know which fonts to use, what colors to use, the way that Bibles for America designs. And so some of the, this style guide was about 50 pages. It's larger of a style guide than some companies have. Some companies do something very extensive if there's a lot of departments, and some style guides are very small. But this one was a larger one. It shows what logos can be used. There were times that the logo was being used in colors that it shouldn't have been used in, or in ways that it shouldn't have been used in. So this gives you some guidelines. This is the logo. These are the different variations that are acceptable to use. It also shows you how not to use a logo. You know, don't use the older logo. Don't add a drop shadow behind the logo. Many different ways to not use the logo. It specifies things like color, so that if you're working on the web, if you're working in print, if you're working in different areas, you would use the exact color so that the expression would be consistent. But it also goes into areas like our voice and tone. How do we write? What is our personality? Because again, you want a consistent personality that's expressed in all the different areas. So this goes over a personality map and personality traits, grammar, writing, all of these things were included in this brand identity style guide. We developed a PDF version of it, and we also developed a web version of it. So anyone who's working with us, whether you're a printer, whether you're someone in-house working on a PowerPoint presentation, or whether you're a designer, you can download the right logo, you can use the right colors, you can download the PDF if you need to. So this was very helpful for all of the staff and all those involved with Bibles for America to get on the same page regarding the visual identity. So now, all of the products, from the Bible that's given out for free, from the books, from flyers, website, all of these different products are consistent. They have a consistent voice. These are some books that were produced across the board. Whoever is working on them, there's a consistent voice. This again builds trust in the user because they kind of recognize what the personality of this company is, and they have a feeling that's like me. You know, that represents who I am. I would stand behind that company. This is all related to the brand, the identity. Now, all this took place in 2013. In 2014, there was a 10% increase of Bibles that were given out, 30% increase of books given out, 130% increase of blog subscribers, and 185,728 views on an animated video that we released, something that had never happened before. And again, this is not just due to the visual design. This is due to the excellence in the work ethic of all the employees, the writers who are writing the content, the product itself, how valuable the product itself is. But design is something that helps communicate all those things to the public so that they can invest in that company or that product. And these are just numbers related to the business side, but design also helps people. So here, this was a person who really wanted a Bible, and they were so excited that they were connected to that business that was offering and providing what they needed. So like some have said, it's really solving the problem and providing what the person needs. Okay, this next and last example is called expanding reach, and it's related to a company called QuickieTech. So the first example showed how design helped a company, a new small company, level up with their competitors. The second example showed how there was a company who was doing well, but needed a more clear and unique voice. The third example shows a company who was going on for some time, who was targeting a particular market, and wanted to open up and target a different market. And that's QuickieTech. Now, QuickieTech is a e-learning company. And ever since their inception, they targeted educators across the United States who wanted to get salary points. They would take classes, get salary points so that their pay rates could increase. And so they would take different technology classes, things that they could use, how to use an iPad in your classroom, how to use different programs and different technologies. And they would take their classes, get the credits, and be able to be paid more as teachers. This was their target, and this was their main focus for a number of years. But then they began to consider a new business plan. How can we reach job seekers and students? The whole way that they ran their business was related to salary points and teachers. But they realized there's a lot of companies that target professionals. You're a professional and you just need to tighten up a little bit of your skills. You can take some classes. They were going to promote, though, to first-time job seekers who need the basic technology skills to get a job. Or students who need the basic technology skills as they enter into college. Or maybe it's an elderly person who feels like, technology has passed me. I'm too far behind, there's no hope, it's over. No, they wanted to target those people and say, yes, you can get the training you need to get a job in the 21st century with the basic technology skills. So now they're going from teachers to targeting young people, college students, and ones who are seeking jobs. How do you connect with them? This logo was a bit dated. It was a bit corporate. It wasn't that unique. There's a number of companies that use the power button as their logo. They wanted to be unique. They wanted to be their own. They wanted their own identity, their own brand, and they wanted to connect to a younger demographic. So after a lot of conversation, again, after a lot of back and forth, question and answers between myself and the client, work began. First on the logo. And after actually a few hundred sketches, we came on this icon, an icon of a quick running hare. And it has a little bit of personality because you could say it's like a mascot or a character. It was very unique in its shape. And after some refining, this was the logo that was chosen. Now this logo has sharp angles that give it the sense of speed, of movement, even encouragement to get on with it, to get that education that you need to move on in this age. The eye has a little bit of a smile to it, so it has quite a bit of personality. It's very memorable, very unique, gives a sense of speed, of movement. Here is the full logo with the logo type, and together with the client we came up with this tagline, "Let's get started." Let's really focuses on one of the keys to Quickie Tech, and that is that there are personal teachers that you can connect with. Many online courses are video based, so you take the online course, you watch the video, and you finish it. But they actually provide not only videos, but a teacher who you can connect with, talk to, answer questions with. This is one of the things they wanted to express. So let's indicates that there's something that you're doing together with someone else. Get started is an encouragement to begin your learning journey today. Okay, so this is some of the thought behind the logo and the tagline. Once that was selected, we began to apply it to all kinds of materials. These are the business cards. These are promotional flyers that were given out. This is the company letterhead and envelopes. We also designed a new website, a new face for their products. In the past, they had used pictures of different graphics for their courses. But remember, one of their ideas was that they wanted people to know you get a real teacher who you can connect with. So instead of using graphics like many companies do on their class videos, images, we showed the people who you were going to connect with and talk to. Very good beginning in this area.
Well, that's a good way to end. That's a good question. I think the key word there is culture. Now, nothing in the world can guarantee that no one here or no one in the organization will somehow tarnish the brand. But I think if we can inculcate ourselves this this sense of this awareness or even this appreciation or desire to have good design as one of the underpinnings of the company. And that's why this is really an extension of all the values that we talked about, right? And one of which is really this matter of design. So in our relentless, pursuit, for excellence, design must be one of those things. I think if there's one person I was kind of waiting for you, Ben, to show, is really Steve Jobs, right? I mean, he is the consummate guy that where design reigns supreme in Apple. You take that away, there's really no Apple anymore. And so it's not even technology. Everybody knows they don't have the top technology, but yet they have become so successful. Everyone wants to buy the phone and so on. So, and in that case, he was a dictator. He was the czar, and nothing could go past by him without his approval. I mean, in terms of products and so on. So I think these lectures, or these kind of talk, hopefully will raise the bar for all of us. And so we all have a kind of a understanding and a buy-in to this aspect of the value of the company. And I really believe this whole idea that that success is driven by good design. In fact, when there's good design in this more encompassing sense, right, not just in one thing or another, but this whole sense of design is there, that the economics will really take care of itself. So anyway, this is just the first one. I hope, if you don't mind, we'll have more of this. We'll get an architect here, we'll get other types of professionals in this field as well. All right? Thank you. Ben, for coming.